Welcome, Capricorn, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 18th of May for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the week ahead, first of all, Capricorn. Then on screen, your event chart on Monday always provides an influential backdrop. I'll then go through each of the influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. If you recall, last week we had a new moon in the earthy Taurus. Brilliant for you personally. Well, that moon is augmented at the start of this week by Mars, the planet of passion and action, moving into Taurus, where it will be for the next 6 weeks. That really can bring an extra spark to your situation. But also on Tuesday, Venus, the relator, moves into one of her favorite locations throughout her whole journey. And Venus and Mars forge a perfect sextile on Tuesday too, which can be particularly hopeful for you. But on Thursday, the Sun makes its annual return to the sign of Gemini and meets with Uranus on Friday for the first time in 78 years. What's the significance? But as the week draws to a close, we have a quarter moon in the earthy Virgo, squaring off to the Sun in Gemini. On the screen now is your event chart, and there's the Sun coming to the end of its journey in the sign of Taurus, and the Moon is in Gemini. So as you come into this week, I think practicalities may be calling out to you because Mercury, the ruler of the sign of Gemini, is in a conjunction with Uranus. So your mind could be quite agile, or you could be thinking quite sharply about certain details, but you could have quite the brainwave early on Monday about something you want to change around your routines, or it may be around your work that you can see a better way of doing things. But the sun being in that angle, pardon me, is still surfing the magnificence of last week's new moon. And a fifth house new moon has a kind of echo of the energy of Leo. It's very much to do with you showcasing your charisma. And that backdrop energy is going on for the next 3.5 weeks. So Mars moving into Taurus later on Monday is going to support that energy very, very well. Mars in the fifth house can give us much greater sense of our attractiveness. It can give us more confidence. It can make us feel more energized, but most of all, it can just see your enthusiasm, which is what Mars is very much about, really be buoyed up. So if you are wanting to bring a more social or interactive or even playful dimension to your world, Mars and that new moon are really going to be helpful at the start of this week. But Venus, the planet of relating and money, moves on Tuesday into your sector of relating, but links back to the newly arrived Mars in Taurus in an exact sextile. If you do have a conversation with someone new that day, it could really spark between you. Now, if you're in an existing relationship, the energy that's around this sixth house sector of your chart suggests if you have an honest chat about who does and contributes what, and if you feel you've been doing a lot more of the domestic heavy lifting, but your partner is receptive to what you have to say, I think you can reset things between you in a very helpful manner. Now, as the week goes on, Mercury moves forwards and links back to Pluto in your second house. Pluto's about transformation. Mercury in the sixth house can be about the details, can be about your work, something shifting, but that very practical part of your nature, which really can be very systematic in the way you analyze things, can shine up really well. Now, the Sun moves on Thursday into Gemini, links with Uranus on Friday, but also Mercury is linking back to your ruler Saturn as the week draws on. So if you are grappling with those practical details, chances are you can bring some imagination to them with Mars, augmenting that fifth house. But when the sun arrives on the Thursday, if you're not enjoying what you do for a living at the moment, or there's a part of your life that's disorganized, or you know that perhaps you could eat a bit better, you could do more exercise, the virtuous things are not very exciting, are they? Let's be honest about it. But because of the electric energies of Uranus, he could almost push you to look at something by an event that occurs that makes you realize that, yes, you do need to be more mindful about your physical welfare. But also, if you're not enjoying that job, the sun applying to Uranus can see you thinking about changing it, because the sun and Uranus together can be about freedom and independence as well as sudden opportunities. That brings us to the end of the week and that quarter moon. So the moon by then has travelled into Virgo and links back to the sun in the sixth house. Sixth, ninth house energies can kid us a little bit in perhaps promising to do a bit more than we should, because the sixth house can be very virtuous and the ninth house can be very positive and optimistic. Just be conscious of that. Also, as the week draws to a close, if you are wanting to really get to grips with your personal organization, decluttering, tidying up, catching up on your accounting and so forth and so on, again, don't give yourself too much to do. Give yourself a realistic target as this week draws to a close, and know that with Mars in the very playful, romantic fifth house and Venus in the seventh house of relating, as the week draws to a close, who and how you meet people could really be under the astral microscope over the weeks ahead, but it may be in some very ordinary locations if you are single. I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Capricorn. But just to say, you can order your personal horoscope now and get 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. That helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our lives so far and get a more intimate understanding of them and how to work with them better future forwards. Free, your 12 months transit forecast, and also your draconic spiritual karmic analysis. If your North Node in your natal chart is not late in Pisces or early in Aries, the draconic chart can be very different indeed, and it helps us to understand a different way of looking at astrology and ourselves. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May forecast, please see that on the screen. Your Uranus 78-year solar return Kazemi video on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, absolute pleasure, please see my testimonials below. And if you have yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, you can do so now by seeing the link below. So, as far as your work is concerned, if it has become a little bit too humdrum, you're not getting much personal satisfaction from it, and it doesn't even earn you the money you really want, this can be a week of action and change. But that feels challenging. But just know, Mars, the planet of thrust, but also individual confidence, moves into the most brilliant part of its journey through the sky. And it's linked to Venus, the relator, on Tuesday, means the passion, but also the diplomacy that you can apply to situations can stand you in very good stead. When it comes to your romantic situation, if you are single, do know that you could meet someone in the most ordinary location over the next few weeks, but it could be totally unexpected and the electric connection can be very real. However, if in terms of a relationship which is ongoing, just know that Mars moving into the fifth house, the energy of the new moon, and Venus into the seventh, suggest a more playful side of your nature can be stimulated. So a good time to think about sharing out those domestic chores more fairly, but also spending some quality time together. What about your finances? Well, Pluto's in that second house. It's linked to Mercury, very much to do with marketing. Intriguing. Mercury moves forward, links back to Saturn in your fourth house. I think if you've ever considered working for yourself, that could be a way of augmenting things, even with an initial sideline project. But also, I feel that your financial situation can improve by scrutinizing the resources you already have. Now, you're pretty good at that kind of stuff, but if you've just been very busy of late, do look again. You could find some ways to squeeze more out from what you already have. And in terms of your connections to others moving forwards, Venus moving into that seventh house and meets with Jupiter early in June, there could be a significant development around your love life before too long. As far as energy is concerned, I feel that Mars being in the conjunction with Chiron is quite interesting at the start of this week, because if there are still some emotional roots that remain a little bruised and not as nurtured as they could be, do take action to think about that. And also know that this sixth house energy really is pushing you to think about improving your diet, but also the amount of exercise and rest that you're getting too. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Capricorn. Have a great week and look forward to seeing you again soon.